Hello guys and welcome. So today I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on how I did my shopping lists. For these ones I created a little bit of a sturdy little base for it that could be reusable, and I did this little, use different ribbons and twines and stuff to tie them together, though the person that gets them, they can not tie them and just keep them open, but that would be a cute little thing to throw in your purse or shopping list. I am going to be using this one that I got at the Dollar Tree. So some of them I got at Walmart and some of them I got at the Dollar Tree. And because they are different sizes, or sometimes the shopping lists tend to be different sizes, I'm not going to give you exact measurements of what it was, but I'm going to show you what you can do to get the measurements instead of just kind of measuring. So here I am putting my pad right against the cardboard piece that I'm using. For some of them I use chipboard that I had, and then for other ones I use recycled cardboard that I think it's awesome because it's good to recycle and reuse things. So I just kind of paired it up, and from the measurement of the notepad I left about an inch higher. So then now I'm going to be using an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper to coat my base, and all I'm doing here is just kind of measuring of the distance or the width of the pad. And this is about 4 inches, so I scored at 4 and then again at 8, and now I'm flipping it over. Like I said, you're going to leave about an inch on the top, so I am just scoring on the top part. You're not going to be doing any of this scoring on the other part. You are going to score a little bit lower to where the list pad is, because this is what's gonna be the cover. That little inch that we leave on the other side, that's what I use to put the little pen on top. So here you can see where I'm cutting these, so that way I can show you a little bit more of the rough shape of the paper, just cutting the corners so that way we can cover it. We are going to be using the other side to be the back of it, and then the little flap that stays on the side, that's going to be covering the cardboard so that way you don't see it. And there you have it. So I just left a little bit on the other side too because I don't want it to show. Now what I'm going to do here is just cut another strip of paper that about an inch and a half, just something that you can use to cover the edge of that paper. I know you're only gonna need it on the one side, which is gonna be the left side, that where the little flap is. And I actually did a couple different methods, but I thought this one was the fastest, so that's what I did. So here you can see I was recycling the piece of cardboard, and I am just going to be gluing all of the papers. Just kind of trim it with your scissors to fit the size. Just add some glue, and I am just using tacky glue. You could use your tape runner or any of that red tape to use it, but because it is just to cover, tacky glue works just fine. So once I have that side covered, then I can go ahead and add the glue to add another one to the other side as well. And then just, on that second side, I didn't really need to add it because I did have that little bit of the edge that I left, that would cover it. But because it was kind of small, I didn't want to chance it that it wasn't going to be enough. So I went ahead and put a strip in here as well. So once I had that completed, I am going to be layering it onto the card base, and then just make sure that it's going to fit. Now I am going to cut a base for the top just to kind of layer it, and again I am just kind of eyeballing. I just measure it up to the board. Makes it a lot easier than grabbing your ruler and going back and measuring. You just mark it with like your nail or something, and then you go back and cut it. Now this one, what I'm going to be also doing is cut about an inch strip by about 5 or so, because it was about a 4-inch, to wrap around it, so that way I could use it as a little strip to put the list pad in. So as you can see here, I'm folding it, just push it over a little bit, and then glue it onto the this base that I am going to be covering everything with. So there I have it. So that way that little flap gives you the space to put in the back of your pad. Now I'm going to be using my crocodile to about halfway of the list pad. I am going to be doing a hole. Then here I also forgot that I needed a little bit of the space for the thickness of the list pad, and it's about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just doing another little score mark here and then moving it over. So good thing that I left that little flap. So I'm just going to cut here, and you can kind of see both of the little marks that I made there. I was gonna make it a little too small, but it worked out fine. So at about halfway, I am going to be using the crocodile to punch that hole, and that's where my thread is going to be going through. So I like to do this first because you know, it makes it easier, and that way the, you know, the string stays sturdy all the way to the bottom of the whole project. You could also add it in between the cardstock and the top layer, but you know, I decided to add it at the bottom. I am just using a little piece of washi tape to kind of secure it down, so it doesn't move while I glue everything. And you could use whatever tape, it doesn't really matter when you're doing this. So I'm just measuring that everything's going to work good, doing that fold, and now there you can see where the list pad, the thickness of it is going to be. So now the on this side here, the little flap that I'm going to be folding over is a lot smaller, you can see. So it was a good thing that I added that second strip on the other side. So just add a lot of glue and then just layer it on top. Just press it down, and then you're going to start covering everything. So now, because I had that little section too, I decided to punch a little hole as well, so that way I could put the thread through that. I know on some of my other ones I didn't do that because I put the thread on the top of the cardboard, so I glued it onto the base, and then I did the string on top and then the top layer. But in this case I wanted to do it first, so you know, no biggie. And now I'm just going to use my bone folder to kind of burnish it down and make sure that it stays there, and then shape it in there. So these are pretty easy. I know that maybe may seem like it's a lot of steps, but it is very easy and fast to do. Once you get the hang of it and do a few, you can knock them out in no time. So here I am just folding the edges on both the top and the bottom, and I had left that little extra flap because on the other ones I needed to fold it over to cover the cardstock, but in this case I didn't because I had already covered it, so I just cut it off. So now it's time for me to glue the base onto the top onto here. And then for this one you could also use different pattern paper if you want to, because that's what's going to show, or part of it is going to show when you open the base. So that's basically your little booklet or folder that you're creating for the to hold the list pen. So there it is. So that's the basic. Now on this one it had magnets and I removed those. Now obviously I don't want it to be like this because it kind of looks a little messy, so I decided to grab just a piece of cardstock to put on the back. And here I was thinking about using the pink one, but it wasn't quite big. It was from my scrap bin, and I am using this like tan color, just something so that way it looks more finished on the back if they decide to take it out. So I am just using my scissors to trim it out to size. And again, like I said, just to make it very fast and easy, you don't need to measure it. And then I am just going to be putting it in here. I did struggle a little bit for a second, but I was able to put it in there. Now before that, I also wanted to, before continuing, to show you how I make the little pen holder. And then this one I cut about a 3 1/4 inch strip, and I scored at 1/2 inch, or about 1/2 inch each way. So you need to have these, and then you come out to this like little triangle shape. So I am just going to be gluing the two sides together, and the reason I did the 4 score marks is so that way I can match up the other two to the distance that I need. And it fits perfectly, these little pens that I got from the Dollar Tree, so it's perfect. So now I am just going to be gluing these. Now this is another thing that you could do and put underneath. I know in my first one I kind of cut around it and everything, but as I made more, I figured that it was easier to just glue it like this. Now I'm just taking the measurements of my list pad, which is about 8 inches by 4, and I am going to be cutting a little piece of a little strip of paper to kind of put a decoration onto the front. So that's just cutting just a tiny bit smaller, and then I am also going to cut another strip that I put to the back of it. And as you can see here, I didn't measure it quite right to put it behind or in front of the paper. So I am centering it there. There you go. That just covers the paper that you put there where it's holding it for your pen. And then you just slip it down. And there you have it. So now you can see, like at the top, you can make the paper a little bit bigger to cover the whole thing, or you can put the decorative paper before you put the thing that holds the pen holder. But either way works. So now I'm just putting layering on top, so that way I can start decorating my list pad, and then you can go crazy with this. Now to cover my little pen, I cut out the paper that was about 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 by 1. So I cut the piece of paper, and then what I did, I kind of peeled it off a little bit in half, added some strong tape, and then that way I could glue it onto the little pen. The only reason I did this is because I wanted the pen to match the paper that I'm using for the list pad, so it was very easy. Now to add a little bit of decoration to it, I just used one of these cut aparts from the paper pad that I was using, and it says Love Life. And I thought it would just match perfectly because it has those beautiful pink flowers that kind of went nice with the polka dots and the soft pink. So I just put that there, and then just to start decorating. Now for my little pen, I like to cut the paper, or peel the paper, one part of it, so that way it makes the paper a little bit thinner and easier for you to bend it around the pen. You can leave it as is, that's okay, but if you use like a little bone folder or something to curl it, it's a lot easier when you're putting it there. Here I am using some of this red tape, and I put it about halfway so that way I can glue it down. And then I realized that I had put the glue on the wrong side of the of the paper, because it does have a right and a wrong side. So it was the 1 1/4 inch is the one that goes against it. 1 inch wraps around the pen. So once I put the tape on the right side, I just went ahead and measured it up, and I kind of messed up a little bit here, but I was trying to fiddle with it and put it down. So there you go. I decided to grab a different pen, I guess, at some point, and I just wrapped it around. So I just needed to cut this one because this other paper, I cut it a little too big, but I wrapped it around, and then I grabbed a glue, a little bit of glue to add on that little corner. Sometimes if you cut it just right, it closes together, so you don't have to do this. But because it went over a little bit, all I had to do is just add a little bit of glue. And there you have it. That's pretty much how you complete the list pad. It was very, like I said, quick and easy, without a lot of fussing and measurements. You can just use your own list pad to do that. And here I am showing you just a few that I created. I only made about 5 of them, 5 or 6, but they are all kind of cute. And I really like how they turned out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and are having a wonderful day. Catch you in the next one.